part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright. You're listening to the Krypton Report.
Look up in the sky.
What's up? What's up, James?
Yo. How's it going?
This is our live for the month, even though we are technically a day late. That was because of craziness in life.
Issues.
Issues. I am your host, Tyler, the Superman of Blue. And with me, as always, is the Superman of Red, the bearded man right here. Not Santa Claus, but Mr. James Cole.
Superman over there ripped up a whole sidewalk.
Yeah, this guy right here. Yeah. Little Superboy right here.
Yeah.
He was a beast, man.
I had my grandpa do it, so.
We were out there like busting concrete, lifting and tossing, and this dude's just out there like, this ain't nothing. And then we're shoveling dirt today. Pretty awesome.
And sand.
Kind of like Clark did with that big old dumbbell in a box.
Yeah. You may move this?
Yeah.
So we're gonna get crack-a-lackin' here. We're gonna start with some news, and we're gonna see what we get. All right.
White.
So as of today, right now, Blue Beetle tickets are on sale, and we'll be getting our tickets here soon to because we're gonna try to figure out which day we're going, because Nana wants to go with us. So gotta figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
So the Blue Beetle is coming to fight. But we got other news. That's interesting stuff.
Yep.
So let's start off first. We got the announcements of animated films at Comic-Con. And we kind of held off to talk about it now during this. So, let's we'll go into that. But the first one was the RWBY Part 2, the Justice League RWBY Part 2. That's supposed to come at the end of this year. Solomon and I decided we are going to watch it on Max one day, so if we want to talk about it down the road, we can. I know that James has talked about it. I need to put my glasses on. I'm trying to get better at wearing my blue light glasses. I totally forgot. There we go. Gotta protect my eyes, you know what I'm saying? And so that one. The other one was, I forgot we had talked about this, but the Aztec Batman. You remember this one being talked about?
I do remember it being talked about, yes.
Yeah, and I'm interested in it, and I wonder if it's going to be like an animated movie or more anime, kind of like Batman Ninja was. Like, I wonder if it's going to be in that vein, or what this Batman Aztec thing is going to be.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't think anime would quite suit the style with it being South American.
Right.
You know? So
Yep.
yeah, the animation style, but I haven't really seen much of anything of it, so
Yeah, I remember when I watched Batman Ninja. Let's just move on to the situation right now.
Okay, so
Oh yeah, I'm just kidding.
the other one was Watchmen. And this one, I'm like, what Watchmen? Like, what animated movie are you doing? Unless you're doing an animated movie that's like from the before Watchmen books or something like that, that could be interesting. But just to do Watchmen in general in animation, really? Why?
yeah, I really don't. I mean, it's gonna sell. I mean, people are gonna watch it, no matter how much Alan Moore says he hates it, and casts curses on all those involved in making it.
Now, my thought is, now hear me out, James. what if they do a Watchmen film? It's a little tweak at the end because they're going to do a Doomsday Clock movie as a sequel.
I mean, that would be cool, but the Doomsday Clock does take place in a world farther down the line. So if like Watchmen took place in the 80s, like Doomsday Clock took place in their like 90s or 2000s.
Yeah, exactly. So you do the Watchmen
Yeah.
movie, then the sequel's Doomsday Clock with some sort of continuity universe you have. Just a thought, you know, because why else would you do a Doomsday Clock movie unless you're going to try to do something like that?
And Alora says, I don't want to do this Watchmen movie.
Laura's like, who cares about Watchmen, Dad? Then of course
She will when she's old enough to watch the Snyder one.
And then we had the
Zack Snyder's Watchmen.
Batman, and we haven't got anything from it, but just from that one picture we saw of the animation,
I hated that
I had
animation.
to work to watch it, and that makes me mad because the idea of a Christmas Batman special, basically to watch every year, sounds so cool. But then seeing the animation looks worse, if not the same as that Aquaman series that nobody remembers that just disappeared.
Yeah, I don't even remember it.
So I'm just nodding my head because you know what I mean.
I just
Like,
played
I think they even removed it from Max at a time.
Oh, they did.
They don't even want it on there. Nobody
wants to remember that it exists. They're like,
No.
"We messed
Give me
up."
the Justin Hartley episode anytime before watching that animated thing. I couldn't even finish it. The first episode, I think, is all I mostly watched, and I was like, this is just...
I don't even think we
horrible.
made it through the first episode.
No,
we didn't. Because I started it and the kids were like, "Oh, I want to try it." I was like, "Fine." We started it and they're like, "Can we go play outside?" Yes. And that was the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. And then the last one is, we're going to save that last one. Nah, we'll talk about it. Actually, we'll save that. Pause that. Let's do some more news. We'll come back around to it. Mark Waid is bringing Kingdom Come to the World's Finest book. I thought that was big enough news to talk about because Mark Waid is killing it right now being back at DC, and having Kingdom Come somehow play into his World's Finest is pretty exciting. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. And it's definitely had a resurgence among the fans the last, handful of years, especially with Brandon Routh doing it in Crisis on Infinite Earths.
We had the 25th anniversary recently, last year. So yeah, it's definitely come back around. I do want to make an announcement, speaking of Mark Waid, that The Last Days of Lex Luthor has been released, #1. We will be reviewing it, but we're going to wait till the whole 3 issue have been released and just do a whole episode just on that content instead of trying to talk about it as it comes out. Let's see. This is exciting, kind of awesome, but we got our first official trailer. I said official. And we got a date that Scooby-Doo and Crypto 2 is getting released September 23rd on digital or on DVD at Walmart. And I think it's weird, like you and I had a conversation about this, that they're only doing DVDs because, like, we don't have a regular DVD player.
We have to use our PlayStation 4.
We use our PlayStation or our Xbox. And even then, it's weird because DVD's been trying to be phased out so much and go to Blu-ray. Like, they're not even doing a Blu-ray release, and they haven't. They haven't. All these direct-to-DVD Scooby-Doo films have just been DVD and digital. And, this Scooby-Doo and Crypto 2, I am purchasing it on digital, and I'll probably pick up the DVD like at a Black Friday thing just because I like to have my physical. but it's not the quality's not that great. Like even watching a DVD on a 4K TV, you definitely see downgraded quality, and it's weird. Like we watched the DVD today, and some of the color grading on it was the kids were like, "Why does it look like that?" I'm like, it's kind of playing a DVD through a high def TV.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I don't have a newer 4K TV, and I got my Blu-ray players, and I don't have any problems with DVDs and that. But just releasing on DVD alone is interesting, but I'm sure these days a lot of people would just snatch that digitally and be able to watch it there, put it on anytime for their kids. Just
and that's why we're doing digital, because Scooby-Doo is a huge thing in this house. Superman, huge thing in this house. So the merger of the two, this movie is made for the family. The trailer looks awesome. A few months ago, it did leak because it was one of those that everyone said was going to be shelved by Warner Brothers in the whole, tax write-off, much like the Hex Girls movie and Scoob 2 film. Everyone just assumed this one it was being reported it was going to be in there. It leaked. That was months ago, and then now we're officially getting the release. So it's pretty exciting. Are you excited, Solomon?
Yeah. I'm kind of sad that the Hex Girl movie and Scoob 2 got canceled.
Yeah. So it looks good. You have General Zod in it. You have Crypto, Scooby-Doo. It looks awesome.
I like the animation. I like the character designs. The character designs of Joker and Harley Quinn and Zod and what looks to be Ursa and Nan, like almost straight out of Superman 2.
Yeah, we'll be covering that probably.
Pretty close, It looks good.
End of September when it comes out, we'll be covering it. That's exciting because that'll definitely be one that I can get a lot of good quotes and comments from the kids on. We can get Laura to throw her 2 cents in. So, other things from Comic-Con we didn't really touch on, but figures from San Diego, they are releasing some new figures to their Batman 66 line. And I don't have it all saved here on my phone, but it's weird because new figures to the Batman 66 line includes a Superman. Did you see that? Yeah. So we have Batman 66, Robin Unmasked, Superman, Robot Batman, Lord Deathman, and the Joker. It says 6-inch figures, fall of 2023. And then it says right here, let's see, Skull Burner is not final, pending licensing approval. So I'm just kind of like, okay, is this supposed to be like a George Reeves? Was there a Superman that appeared in the Batman 66 comic? But it says classic TV series. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it'll be interesting. I want to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
Like compared to the other figures, how well it fits in. Like, is it detailed the same?
Exactly. And then, okay, so continuing, we got a 7-inch line that showed Hawkman, Firestorm, and Sinestro, all comic book based. They look okay, not like jumping for joy on those. Then they have their gold label. They have Catman, the figure everybody in the world wants. Very angry, ghost-looking Green Lantern, Hal Jordan. Black Lightning, which looks pretty sweet. But then we have Supergirl. And this Supergirl is interesting because it looks a lot like the TV series. But she has full red legs. Now, it does say pending licensing approval. So I'm wondering if this is supposed to be a Melissa Supergirl. Because where they did the belt, you know?
Yeah. Be interesting if they did a like final season Melissa Supergirl.
Should do a 2-pack. Give me the first season and then give me the final season. So
yeah, I'd buy it.
Yeah. That's definitely a figure that I want to get. It's a really good, new McFarlane Supergirl. We also got the 6-inch Build-A-Wave articulated Batman the Animated Series. All right, we're talking Batman, Robin, Scarecrow.
I want that Scarecrow.
Yeah, we'll get it for you. Mr. Freeze, which we'll probably get for Brian, with the Build-A-Figure being Condiment King. Nothing says awesome like Condiment King.
If I
Nothing says awesome like Condiment King. That's a real one. Might be worth a Google.
Now, for the Superpower figure line, we're getting a very 90s Tim Drake Robin, a 89 Keaton, and it better have the belt that pulls out, uses a grappling hook. A very New 52 / Rebirth, reborn looking Superman, and a more disco-esque looking Nightwing. That still says fall of 2023.
Disco Nightwing.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So that says fall. And then the line that I'm actually really excited about, and we touched on it briefly in our wish list, is the Batman and Robin 7-inch Build-A-Wave line, featuring the George Clooney Batman, Poison Ivy by Uma Thurman, Alicia Silverstone Batgirl, Chris O'Donnell Robin / wannabe Nightwing, with the builder figure being Mr. Freeze, the Arnold Schwarzenegger. That is another line that I just have to get all of them.
Right.
I
swear if they come out with a Mr. Freeze gold label and he's just in the robe.
With the slippers.
Yeah, with the slippers, yes.
Yes.
Now
I want those slippers.
Now we got no pictures, but there was a release of order forms that says that McFarlane Toys for Q3 will have a 7-inch line, non-Build-A-Figure, but will feature the Batman Forever, which will be Batman, Robin, Two-Face, and Riddler. So, and that's cool because that's on the heels, of the release of the whole Batman collection that we complained about.
Yeah. If they make a Jeep Swanson Bane, I will get it.
They should have.
I know.
Just like Solomon was like, why didn't they do a Catwoman or a Gordon for the Dark Knight line? But they could have done a whole second Dark Knight line, the Dark Knight trilogy, and did instead of doing it as a Build-A-Figure line, doing it as a second line, because each line has 4 figures, right?
Yeah.
So
with 2 extra figures and a mega fig.
Yeah. so do a second line that would have been Catwoman, Gordon, Bane, and you could have done Liam Neeson, Ra's al Ghul, or you could have done John Blake, even. You know what I'm saying? And just did more of those characters, because the Catwoman one's kind of a really sad that they didn't do it, because that's a pretty big deal. Or give me an Alfred. Even give me an Alfred. I mean, Solomon wants a good Alfred,
Right.
No, okay. McFarlane does not have Alfred, but another person has.
Solomon, your microphone's right here, bro. You keep walking away from your mic.
Okay. Another before McFarlane, we had a different something. I forgot what it's called, but it's a DC Weapon.
Oh, the one Alfred figure we've been hunting forever. It's the Build a Killer Croc.
Oh my goodness, it's expensive.
Yeah, it is.
It is so expensive that we're gonna really get it.
We'll figure it out.
We'll probably get it.
Talk expensive. The Bane figure that McFarlane came out with.
Oh yeah.
Can't find for like less than 125, 150 bucks. And then that new 52 Dark Side, that big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's expensive too.
Oh yeah. Totally. It's horribly expensive. And so the last line. Next piece of news, they released the download, like the extra characters are gonna be on Mortal Kombat 1 / Mortal Kombat 12. In the photo it shows Omni-Man, interesting, right? Peacemaker John Cena, that's the big DC one, and then Homelander. So I'm just kind of like, I want to see Peacemaker in action. That's going to be kind of funny. And there's some also news I put on here. There's some new like digital DC Universe Heroes game. It's like a mobile game you can get for heroes and villains. It was part of like they launched it during San Diego, so you can check that out.
I'm gonna use my phone.
All right, moving on. There was a recent article that Nick Cage was entered. I'm gonna pull up some quotes here from Nick Cage, and we'll talk about it. But it says, Nicolas Cage opens up on the Flash of Superman's surprise cameo and how he would have portrayed the character in Superman Lives. Well, I was glad I didn't blink. For me, it was the feeling of being actualized. Even that, looking for that particular character, finally seeing it on screen was satisfying. But as I said, it's quick. If you really wanted to know what I was going to do with that character, look at my performance in City of Angels. So first of all, that makes me feel that Nick Cage didn't film any scenes like they tried to say. That wasn't just a CG creation. It makes me kind of question that whole thing. And now I'm going to go back and watch City of Angels.
It's a wild movie.
It's, the Goo Goo Dolls wrote Iris for it, and that's a great song. It's a great song. Okay, so there's been a lot of hubbub talk in Hollywood right now. Like Sony was the first studio to do this. They're pushing movie dates, release dates right now. So I'm going to throw my 2 cents out here about Aquaman. Okay? Warner Brothers, DC, whatever you do not move Aquaman. Here's the Tyler reasons why. Number 1, give 2024 the break. As much as we all love DC and want DC product, give it a break for a year. We're going to get Joker 2, but that's not really DC that you sell to the masses. Okay? Also, it's coming out in December, so it's going to cross into 2024. But also, if all the other studios are moving their movies, just leave it in there. It'll be the only movie there. People will go see it and it'll make money. I mean, you've already moved it around enough. You already have enough issues with it. Just release the movie, let it do what it's going to do, and then give 2024 off so we can build up to Superman Legacy. There's no need to move it. That's all I'm saying. If any movie should have been moved to 2024, it should have been Blue Beetle, but that time has passed.
Clearly, now that they've started selling tickets.
Yeah. So
I'm excited, though. I look forward to seeing Blue Beetle soon.
I think Solomon does too, don't you, buddy?
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the last piece of news. The animated film is Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Okay, what time is that coming out?
Either late this year, probably early next year. And as the movie we're going to talk about a little bit later, Justice League WarWorld, it definitely sets up Crisis. Part of that movie felt like it was setting up Crisis the whole time, because they start dropping things in it. But let's examine the idea of what this movie's Crisis could be. how would what is the film going to be? How would you do it? Okay, and I say that because are they going to do it kind of CW style, or for a better version of this idea, watch Teen Titans versus Teen Titans Go, and I posted this online. Final battle scene where every version of those characters shows up to battle.
Right. I mean, we almost can't talk about it without spoiling WarWorld, as it were.
But
because
it's connected to the Tomorrowverse. So I mean,
it is, but it's because unfortunately, like I said, you can't really talk about it without starting to talk about and spoil WarWorld because
because all you have to know is the Tomorrowverse is connected. But my question is, are they going to do it? Are they going to pull from are we going to see cameos of live action in animation? Are we going to see cameos much like they did for the TV? Are we going to see the Bruce Timm Superman show up? Is this going to be kind of like that for a Crisis where we're seeing the different multiverse worlds from all of animation? Are we going to see a Planet of Teen Titans Go? Is this going to be the film that ends the Tomorrowverse and all these DC films to give birth to where James Gunn is going to do animation that connects to the live action universe? Since none of these films have been labeled yet as Elseworlds, is that what this Crisis is going to be? Or is this, you know what I'm saying? What is the purpose of this Crisis if we don't have anything else to connect it to? When we see Superman from Superman and the Elite show up.
Each of the hard hitting really
exactly. What is the Crisis?
That implication I've always preferred. I've always liked it separate. They did such a good job developing a universe with the last universe that they ended with Apocalypse War. They actually had a connected universe, and all of the movies had a very standalone quality. You watch all the Batman movies, and they stood alone. It was you could follow characters through their movies down the line. That is not something you can do with the Tomorrowverse. Everything important has happened off screen. The formation of the Justice League, we've never seen a Wonder Woman at this point it seems like we've seen two different Wonder Women.
We're getting there. So I'm saying and we'll break that down more if we get into the movie. But I'm just saying how are they going to approach the Crisis that it actually means something?
I have an idea.
Okay, what you got?
I like what Dad said, but I think it's probably going to be like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, because multiverses.
Yeah.
That's a big thing in 2023 now. Okay, let's see here. We got the Flash multiverse, Spider-Verse. Name some, James. Name some.
Yeah, James. Since you're so cool, name some, James.
If you just look at the DC side, they had a Crisis for television, and they incorporated a lot of television shows. They had basically a Crisis for film, what they did with the Flash. They kind of had a Crisis for Titans because it's been so much, so they crossed a lot of mediums there. Now we're basically getting a Crisis in this direct to home line. I guess if you want, you can erase the whole thing. And I don't like the implication that something like this would go away and everything that came out of DC would just be from Gunn, from that staple, Yeah. That would definitely make the Elseworlds line a little more what are they gonna do? Are they gonna do originals, or are they gonna just do animations of retellings of different stories? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's
I think if they tried to tear it down just to make room for the gun stuff in it, I think that would be a damn shame.
it would be.
And 100%. I'd rather what we've been getting than that. That be the only thing we're getting.
I just feel like, did they decide that, oh no, this isn't going as well as we had hoped? I don't know, because I feel like you don't do a crisis unless you're really trying to do something. So are they trying to end the Tomorrowverse before I feel like it ever really got going?
Well, I mean, from what we can tell, the whole bunch of crap happened. We just didn't get to see any of it.
Right.
So, I mean, they rushed out the last 2 movies, and they had more slated from the universe before. And this one, I don't know if, I mean, it's been mixed out there, the reception of the Tomorrowverse. Some of the films pretty good, and some of them are just people are just man.
Exactly.
So on them.
This Priceless movie, I think it's gonna be a big hit. And after we're done with the Tomorrowverse, I think we should have some New 52.
Well, that's kind of what Solomon. We gotta re-watch the other ones because it's been a while since I've watched them with you. That was kind of what the movies were based on before the Tomorrowverse.
Well, they had a very New 52 look, and that's kind of what they were based on early on. And then as it actually went further down, they actually started to incorporate classic stories into it. Some done really well, a couple done a little less. I mean, the death and return of Superman is kind of like the standout shining gem of the whole thing.
Yeah. And I mean, you had Hush, that was incorporated into that universe, whereas The Long Halloween was incorporated into the new one.
Yeah.
So you could stand alone. So we will talk more about the Tomorrowverse momentarily, but now
there is an implication that with the movie we're going to be talking about, so I have to hold back a little bit.
Yes.
On your gun, clearing the slate for guns, everything.
And that's why it'll be fun to talk about.
So there's one thing there I could get on board.
So we are going to now talk about My Adventures with Superman, Episode 5.
And Episode 4.
No, we talked about Episode 4.
Oh, we did?
Yeah. So this one's called You Will Believe a Man Can Lie. Lois uncovers a secret in Metropolis and is determined to get to the truth. Superman tracks down the dangerous weapons in the city and finds himself in the crosshairs of a mysterious organization, Task Force X. Solomon, give us your thoughts on this episode. You and I just finished rewatching it again before this. What do you think? Talk.
I think this episode's really cool. It really have five more episodes left of this season, which I bet there gotta be season 2.
Yeah. What else do you think? How did you feel for Jimmy?
I felt so sad for it. I felt sad. I felt sad for Jimmy.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's squatching time.
So the episode starts where they're going to go hunt for Bigfoot. Jimmy and Clark and Lois, which sounds like a really fun time and dirty at the same time.
And Jimmy looked on his phone and saw someone trolling him.
Yeah, someone was trolling Flamebird.
Nah.
Solomon, who was it? You want to tell everybody who it was?
No.
Okay.
It was Steve Lombard.
Steve Lombard. Because we find out that Lombard takes Jimmy on a special assignment, and he says it's by Perry, and they get out, and he's like, "You got to film me." And when he does, all of a sudden, Lombard breaks into you. Flameboard says this, and Jimmy's like, "What?"
He's like, what? He's like, what?
But before then, Lombard gives him a whole speech about how Jimmy is like the Steve Lombard of his group. He's like, "You're like the lone wolf."
Yeah. He even gives him the Steve code.
And it says
Steve never misses leg day.
Yeah. Multiple times does it say Steve never misses leg day.
3.
He's like, why doesn't Holt skip leg day on here multiple times?
Yeah.
He's like, because. He's like, you don't want to miss it. So that is an interesting little side. And then just kind of sticking with Jimmy as the episode, wraps up. Jimmy is waiting to go to wherever they're going to hunt Bigfoot at the bus stop, and Lois and Clark don't show up. They're not responding to calls and texts. And then we see Jimmy in the woods by himself and a giant gorilla. James, who do you think it is?
Gorilla. I think it's Grodd. Kind of had glowing eyes. Kind of glowing eyes. I kind of look like telepathic ability.
Our good friend Levi says Titano.
Titano? Oh yeah. That's a very Superman. Yeah, that's a very Superman pull. He could easily be that.
I mean, okay, but okay, then Grodd's more commoner, and like they're using uncommon villains right now.
So I mean, I think Hero 1 works because so far Task Force X and Slade being an upfront villain, you could do Grodd. I mean, it's like Grodd's usually the Flash, but sometimes just a DC villain. Period.
Mm-hmm.
But
in this episode, we've got another crew of people who have weapons, who have tech armor, and we get a new villain in this one, a villain who uses fire, Heat Wave. So not typically a Superman villain, not typically a Superman rogue.
But since they're using Task Force X as like a backbone to this, it kind of makes sense. So kind of trying to follow linear here. Basically, the episode starts. Lois has a theory / that Clark is Superman, and she wants to find out. And it's interesting because the episode starts where Clark's telling Jimmy, like he's going to tell Lois how he feels today. Lois is talking to Jimmy, and she's like, if I gave you certain days and times, could you collaborate where Clark was? Isn't it interesting how he leaves to get a bagel so often?
Never returns with a bagel.
Jimmy's like, is Hungry Lois talking right now? So
do you want a bagel?
He's like, do you want me to get you a bagel? It's interesting. So that happens, and then Lois is in the office trying to figure it out, and there's a package that says to Steve, or it should say to James Cole. We'll figure it out. But she tries to move it, and she can't. And she's like, what is in this dumbbell? And she opens it, and it looks like at least a 50.
It's a big dumbbell. It's a pretty big dumbbell.
And then
I didn't pause it. I wanted to pause it and see if it said how big it was.
I didn't see it from the 2 times I watched it.
It was if it does, it was the small print. It didn't say it on the big print. That I noticed. That much I was able to tell.
Clark comes in and moves it with no effort, and then tosses it to the side, and it crushes the filing cabinet.
Yeah.
As he brings in his giant murder board of figuring out the
I call it an investigation board, but yes.
And so that was funny. And then they get a police scanner, and right as Clark's trying to tell Lois that he cares for her, the police scanner goes off. And it's hilarious because he goes off, and it's like, there's it's the first one, it's like, there's something going on, and Clark's like, I gotta go get a bagel. It's like, never mind, Superman got it. He walks back in. There's a bakery. Cream cheese. And he's gone. And
Oh, it's ridiculous.
but it's great. Like Sloan and I had a great time watching it. And
Well, just it's the idea of how ridiculous, how many lies he's been able to tell people over the years to hide his secret identity from those he's closest to. Like how many years they just fell for it, how gullible they had to be around him for being like these investigative journalists.
yeah. It was interesting. So that goes on, that happens, and then Lois takes the scanner and is running around trying to be everywhere that Superman is, and barely misses him every time. Like she gets there right after he even saved a cat from a tree. But eventually she's in a place where he is. Oh, James is being summoned to fight crime.
Yeah.
And she's in a place where he is, and she takes out handcuffs and puts on him. Like, you know, and it's kind of cute because, like, Heatwave's attacking. He's got Lois as if he can't get free from her, you know, and he's, like, moving her around and everything. But then, you know, things start to escalate because a mysterious figure is actually stealing the people who are using the tech, which we find out is Slade. And Superman takes Lois back to the planet and tells her, like, he doesn't want her in trouble. And as he's flying away, she's yelling Superman, but then she yells Clark. And Solomon and I had an interesting thought. You want to tell him, Solomon?
What if Superman did not? Superman in episode 3, he had his heat vision.
Yep, keep going, buddy.
Yeah,
But-
he just got his heat vision.
Yep, so keep going.
How about his hearing sense?
Yeah, Solomon and I thought, like, what if his super hearing hasn't kicked in yet? And he doesn't have that power yet. Because normally, we automatically assume he already has it. But when she said Clark, and any other Superman, he would have, like, we at least would have got a shot of him hesitating and then flying off. But we didn't, and he didn't respond to it. So Solomon's like, maybe he doesn't have his heat vision or his hearing yet, just like his heat vision. So I'm thinking his super hearing hasn't kicked in yet.
How about his X-ray? How about his X-ray vision and his cold breath? They haven't kicked in yet.
Exactly. So, but he goes up, he breaks the handcuffs, he flies away. Alora's about to make special guest appearance.
Yeah. And she found a headset, so she's talking.
Good. She's telling us what's up.
Yep.
So Superman goes and he finds out, like, he stops Heatwave, but he battles Slade, and they have some strong tech that even damages Superman. It gives him a burn on his neck. And we see this, like, quick image of, looks like maybe when his ship arrived, there was, like, some fallout. And what do they call it, like, 0 day or something like that? They said the events of, like,
Something like that. She's mad at me for not knowing.
and we see what looks like a younger version of this character that's with Waller. I've had a different thought about it, but, you know.
So he calls her Mandy.
For Amanda
And
Waller.
and they call him General.
So do you
And
think
in
it's
DC,
Stanley-
we have a few generals.
Not General Waverly for all you White Christmas fans. Not General Lee for all you Deuce Hazard fans. Who do we think it is?
We've had General Lane, we've had General Eileen as two major ones.
I think it is Lois's father.
Yep. I think they're playing coy with us and it's Lois's dad.
I think so too. That's where I went first. But
Yeah, I think it'll be a nice kind of juxtaposition with what Lois is. Because she, like, has that pressure from her dad, like, in one previous.
Right.
When Superman saw that, did he see Lois? And he actually, when he saw Lois, when him and Lois met, they were like, "Who are you?" Essentially saying, "What if they don't remember each other, but they saw each other again?" Because when they were babies, the thing crashed, and Lois' father abandoned Lois probably, and yeah,
Solid theory.
so I'm guessing.
So,
Yeah, the reason though, so something definitely happened. I'm curious as to like the arrival of Clark. It was a very devastating arrival in Smallville, one of the only times it was like that. So could that be something that happened, as well as they're there to stop Superman, to either capture him or take him out.
yeah.
And they send robots and Slade with all of this tech combined into one suit. And they do some serious damage, and they damage a highway, and it's collapsing. And a great Superman moment is, stop. You have to stop. People are in trouble, and just lays into him and goes on to save the day.
But you have the even better scene because you have Amanda Waller basically telling Slade to kill him because that chip that he has to be Kryptonian based because it's hurt him. And the general gives the order to back down because he is saving the people. So right there is you're setting up who these people really are at their core.
Yeah, two different ideologies. In the end, justify the means, and
then the big cliffhanger, okay, is when Clark goes back. Superman goes back and turns into Clark, and Lois basically confronts him. He yells at him about he got hurt. He comes up with an excuse, and then she pulls a Superman 2, basically, and jumps off the building, just falls back, and Clark grabs her, and she's angry that he's Superman and didn't tell her. There's been a lot of hate, people like turning their backs on Lois on the internet for this, and I don't get it. Like, I look at the situation as two people who are emotionally vulnerable, who are starting to open up to each other, and she says, "You lied," and he's like, "I didn't lie. It's a secret. I didn't tell you." And she says, "A secret is a lie." No, I'm not going to buy that. It's something personal. Just like any other relationship, when you meet people, you have a history, a past, things you don't tell them everything up front. That you're, trying to build up the time to tell them. But she is hurt. He even says, like, you said you hated Superman. He was a liar and all this, and you were going to expose my secrets, and I didn't tell you yet. So it's a very like conundrum of, how she finds out she figured it out. And just that idea, like she's, open and she's hurt, but gives them a really good building opportunity to make everything known from the beginning.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in where the next, because it is the title of the show is My Adventures with Superman.
Yeah.
So
this series would definitely, they would go along with Superman, but they get to learn who he is and where he came from and everything as he does. By finding out who he is at this point, the way the story is gone. We had two excellent Superman moments in this episode. One when they're interrogating Heatwave, And Lois says, "My flying friend, I will unleash my flying friend." And he's like, "No, that's not going to happen." She's like, "Then I will unleash on you." And he's like, we don't threaten people, Lois. That's not right. And then the saving people on the bridge, on the highway, like two great Superman moments in this episode.
So it was a great episode, and every episode with this show gets better. So we're gonna take a quick ad break, and we'll be right back.
Hey, can I get $1? Sure. That's what friends say, right? And we all know that we all have $1. We spend $1 on crazy stuff. We have a loose change around the house probably for $1. So why not help a friend out? The Krypton Report, of course, has a Patreon, like every podcast does. But unlike other podcasts where we're asking for a lot of money, we're just saying, hey, shoot us $1. $1 a month, help us keep the podcast going, and help us to bring entertainment to you. And you can hear the fun voices of me and James. So go to patreon.com/Krypton Report and give it a shot. Thanks.
All right, and we're back. Solomon, you want to say bye to everybody?
Yeah, I'm not gonna be here for the next part. So bye, everybody, and I hope you like
See you,
these
Solo.
Peace, buddy. Superboy Solo is out.
I'm gonna use my elevator. I mean my elevator. Slow motion.
That's right. You didn't know I had an elevator on my floor.
It lagged. It kind of was like he just disappeared on me. He was there, and then he was going down, and he stopped, and then he was gone.
That's how he does. That's how he does. So the next part is we're talking Superman Justice League WarWorld movie, and I watched it thanks to James, because James's digital copy, because I ordered mine and Amazon said it was delivered to the post office, and the post office can't find it. So, oh joy.
Oh, excellent.
But this one was rated R. And anytime they're rated R, I'm kind of interested why. And this one definitely for violence. And
Yeah.
Brian really liked this movie, which was funny. He's like, "Guys, it's so good." And then you and I both were like, it was okay. Because there's some stuff in it. I didn't hate it.
So the individual parts, the best part of the movie was the Wonder Woman part when she was in the Wild West with Jonah Hex. I'm sorry, we're going straight out to spoilers, I guess.
Yeah.
But
You know what? I did and didn't like that. Because I was watching it with Jania, and as soon as the people are breaking free and they're gunned down, Jania's like, "That doesn't feel like Wonder Woman. It doesn't feel right." And it takes like a few minutes for the little daughter to be threatened until Wonder Woman actually reacts. And I was like, my critique was there's little parts like that in the film where it's like the characters are trying to like hesitate for who they are. And then they actually do what they normally would do. And I'm like, they just felt odd. It felt off. Like I get it, but at the same time, like it just felt.
No, they're not supposed to know who they are. They're not supposed to quite be themselves.
And it's
entirely.
It's kind of convoluted in a way as we get towards the end.
It is.
But even Jonah Hex himself, I'm like, is he supposed to be good or bad? But he definitely came out very bad and antagonistic and evil almost.
Right.
But I'm not the biggest Jonah Hex fan, so.
Well, it's also like, what is the story of that place? I mean, it does kind of seem like, it did make it seem like Jonah Hex and his people were the bad guys, but
Right. And then,
there's always.
Because when we meet the settlers, you're like, okay, these don't feel like the people that Hex. So it almost felt like I need a whole movie of just Wonder Woman in the West. Would have been cool. Because that segment did go on for quite a while.
Yeah, I feel it definitely felt like the longest segment, and then you had the Batman segment next, where he was in a fantastical, barbaric world like dinosaurs and sorcery and warlords and barbarians and stuff.
It is interesting how when they get really violent in the Tomorrowverse, because the animation is so bright and more like kid feeling. So when they do get like graphic, it's like, weird. Because like he literally rips the guts out of a dinosaur and it just lands on him.
Yeah.
He's like bathed in blood and guts.
Yeah, he was drug underneath as the guts rained down from the dinosaur.
So that was weird. but anyways, moving on. I didn't really like the Batman segment. The Barbarian, because like he doesn't feel, and I feel like part of it is each time there's a segment they change a little bit. And maybe if I watch it a second time, I'll have a different thought, because as he goes through his little mission, he gets to the chamber where he needs to be, and he basically was sent on a mission to kill this warlord. And Wonder Woman's there chained up, but she's acting a little bit different than she was in the West. Almost like she had gained more of memory of who she was. But
she still didn't know who she was or why she was there or how she became chained up.
Right. So then they fight and they destroy, they stop this sorcerer. And, she takes Bruce with her. And it's like, so when we get to the third segment, which I think looks great, because it looks like Clark Kent, 1950s, investigative reporter, very Sin City looking with the snow and the black, and very like Men in Black type thing. When Bruce and Diana show up in there, they seem more like themselves than they had in their own segment. And he's like CIA, FBI agent Kent.
And it kind of seems like the more they progress, the little bit more that they kind of gain back of themselves.
It's almost like it was, here, and they keep moving in because of, where they go when they're inside whatever it is that Superman's thing is. But Superman is like an alien invasion that they have to stop. And it's really interesting. They're in this diner investigating and, interrogating people, and one of them they said the Langs. So that was interesting. And it was really cool, because then like they get in the car and they're trying to escape.
And it's like white Martians are coming after them. So you get that injection of Martian Manhunter's psyche in, because he's the one projecting these worlds for them into their heads.
So they go through, they find like it looks like a crashed ship, and they go through it, and now like they're on or they're awakened from like the dream comas they're in that are visions from Martian. This is where I said it gets convoluted. Like it's from Martian Manhunter. Okay,
but it's a real world where these bodies, where these people are cloned.
Yeah,
these beings are cloned and used in these scenarios that these heroes are being kept in. There's a lot to like. Why is this the case?
And then they're on WarWorld, which feeds off the fear and hatred of the people there.
I mean, I guess when you pit them against each other in that way, I suppose.
WarWorld was never like an emotionally powered thing, or like your emotions of fear and hatred help power it. And Mongol, I did not like the look of Mongol.
No, the slender, wrinkly look was not.
Something that James and I both said to Brian was the fact that with everything that had recently been done in the comics with Mongol, this was a huge letdown. I expected, WarWorld to be like this kind of story where we get something that references maybe the Mongol who is, the Mongol who was, Superman fighting like Mongol, and No, like none of that. WarWorld is very weird in this because it doesn't even feel like WarWorld. No one's fighting. Like the only fighting is in these like Westworld style dream, like they're in, like I don't know. Maybe we got some flashbacks where we actually saw them in the world that it was not the world they thought they were. Was the only psychic projection just forgetting who they were. But then to tie it all together, if you go back to Superman, Man of Tomorrow, remember that Lobo was hired by somebody to find the Kryptonian, and we find out it was Mongol because Lobo shows up in this, and we find out that there was a back door that was created by John Jones or by Lobo, but it was implanted, incepted by, Martian Manhunter into Lobo so that Martian Manhunter could reach them. So there's like our fourth member of a Justice League, because I kind of expected when they found Martian Manhunter to kind of see, okay, where's Green Arrow? We've been introduced to him. Where's Green Lantern? Where is the Flash? But then we start getting these drops about the multiverse. And Wonder Woman, like Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman still don't really know who they are and what their history is.
She says she remembers Superman and that he looks like her Clark, but younger.
So is this the Wonder Woman we met before in Wonder Woman or Justice Society World War II from a different Earth? Like, because we've never met Wonder Woman.
Same actress, but
and that's what I'm saying.
Not the same uniform, and she doesn't have like quite the same personality, quite the same.
Well, none of them really have the personality because they're all
like
half brainwashed. So that's where we say that we lose story because we don't get much of these characters together interacting. Like, it feels like we're building up to something where we didn't really get the build up. We saw Batman and Superman for one scene in the Legion of Superheroes together.
Yeah, and it was like, and then the one scene of Flash and with Superman against Brainiac, that one scene there. But the whole movie was just a build up for a crisis. They talk about the multiverse. For some reason, in this one, the Martians, green and white, were part of a key. They needed to be whole to be a key to stop WarWorld, to power or stop WarWorld, and
control it basically.
Yeah, and then it's just used to destroy WarWorld, and then our Trinity, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are taken by Harbinger. I'm guessing it's Harbinger. That's the only thing I can think it would be.
Yeah, that's what I think it is too.
Taken for the upcoming crisis.
And they say crisis. They throw out multiverse. I was expecting at the end, like when she took them to the other members of the Justice League, like Green Lantern, Flash, Green Arrow, that we've seen in the other films, beat it. She went and got the last three or something, so we could actually have a cool shot of the Justice League together, and it was a weird movie because I feel like you kind of do these little segment, small Elseworlds tales, what if tales almost, then all of a sudden throw it together into a waste of WarWorld, a waste of Mongol.
Trinity movie, a Trinity fight where none of the Trinity know who they are,
right?
Or what they're capable of.
I was hoping that once they got to Martian Manhunter, all of a sudden, their minds would be clear and they
he would unlock their.
Yeah. So it was very, like I said, it was very convoluted, and It might be my least favorite of the Tomorrowverse. I'm gonna throw that out there. Like, he's at least the
As
other
a
ones
whole, yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna have to rank these suckers. So I know we did it on a podcast before, but I'm gonna have to re-rank it like on Letterboxd. I'll send that to you later. I'll get bored. So yeah. Now, what was your part that you talked about? Why you think that?
So the only thing that would be like if Crisis ended, because Darren is not going to be Superman. We already know that. So it's not going to be him in the Gunverse. And then, I mean, Stana, it's probably not going to be her as Wonder Woman in the Gunverse either. The only person that would be cool to roll over into the Gunverse like that, who could do it in animation and live action, would be Jensen Ackles as a slightly older Batman. He can still play a little younger than he is, but be an older Batman.
Yeah.
To be able to have, a child, Damian, if you want him to have previous Robins. If you want to have a Dick Grayson and Jason Todd and Tim Drake at all.
Yeah. But the thing about Damian is we had to remind Brian about this, is that Damian was raised in an accelerated rate. So technically he might be like 13 years old, but that doesn't mean he is 13. Like, he could only be like 3 years old or 5 years old, because he was born and he was grown, and accelerated and taught inside.
Right, but it was still during Tim Drake's time as Robin. After he's been doing it for a few years.
In the original, before all the reboots and everything. But the idea is, like, you can have an older Batman, but he doesn't have to be old. Like,
no, that's what I mean. He doesn't need to be old. Son. He can be in his 30s and have a teenage son.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, I don't know why you would bring Crisis back. Like, what's the significance of Crisis right now? But I mean, you know what? I'm optimistic about it, because I said something similar when they were like, the death of Superman. I was like, didn't we kind of already do a death? And it would seem like we were getting death of Superman on, Justice League and BVS. I was kind of like, okay, we're going to do this again. But then that ended up being an amazing movie. So we're going to do Crisis again. I mean, it will be like 2024, which is like 4 years after Crisis ended. So I guess that's enough time.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think it is. It probably doesn't seem that way because, like I said, we got like Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans. We've got, there was Crisis on Infinite Earths. There was The Flash just recently talking about destroying the multiverse. So
yeah, I mean, it's
lots of similar Crisis-like events.
That's all we got for this episode. I mean, it was delayed live, but catch us next time as James takes on and protects the world from all the evil in it.
Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe.
Part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Chase Smith here from the Chase Smith Podcast and Cavs on the Break NBA Podcast.
And I'm JD, host of the Hyman Podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network, and we are super excited to bring you a brand new show starting next Tuesday, the Fanfare Podcast.
The Fanfare Podcast is all about your favorite movies and our favorite movies and the best moments in cinema. To help guide our discussion, each episode will feature one classic, and we will grade this movie using a report card-like scale A through F. We're going to be grading categories like acting, directing, cinematography, the score, and even the movie poster itself.
And we're not featuring a movie report card. We'll be sharing our movie rankings, franchise deep dives, actor and director interviews, and everything in between. Movies have been a major part of our lives, and we cannot wait to share our thoughts with you.
Our premiere episode will drop Tuesday, June 27th, and JD and I will be reviewing Raiders of the Lost Ark in preparation of the release of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny on June 30th, the 5th installment of the franchise.
Join us on the Fanfare Podcast, available on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcast.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month, and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us, and then listen in.
Before we start this episode of Krypton Report, I want to take a moment and just give a shout out here to our Patreon. I know what you're thinking. Gosh, everyone's asking for money, and I get it. But our Patreon is only $1. $1 a month that helps us keep the podcast going. And what we do is we try to find interesting shows and topics and whatever we want to talk about. We've done, as of this little thing, our last recordings were on the Scream series. Brian and Tyler, that's me, do our own show where we record in the car, and it's kind of funny. And we talk about pop culture or whatever is going on. We also have the Supernatural podcast we've been reworking. It's taken on some time just because of life. But we do movie commentaries as well. It's something that James and I have done, what we used to do on the main show that we've started doing here. So for $1 a month on our Patreon, you can get those shows. There's at least 4 a month. Also, there's my movie pitch show that I do. But also, what we want is if you're a Patreon, you can come on. You can come on the main show if you want. Or if there's something you want to come on and talk about, we can do it as a Patreon special. So all I want is for $1 a month, think about chipping in, joining our Patreon, and you have a voice to be a part of things. Follow the link in the link tree or in the show notes below, patreon.com/KryptonReport.
This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
Look up in the sky.
We just want to say if you've enjoyed this podcast, please check out other podcasts on the Press Play Podcast Network.
If you are like Tyler and James and can't get enough super talk, check out these other podcasts. Digging for Kryptonite, Supergirl Radio, The Last Sons of Krypton, The Superboy Legacy Podcast, All-Star Superfans, Superman the Animated Podcast, The Aspiring Kryptonians, Always Hold On to Smallville, The Geek of Steel, and Truth, Justice, and Hope.
Remember to check out Krypton Report on all social media platforms. Go to linktree.com/KryptonReport. You find all of our information.